Hello students, this is Mr. Boyd. Welcome to the second part of our lesson on square roots and cube roots. So in this lesson we're going to look at estimating non-perfect square roots, and then we're going to look at perfect cubes and cubed roots. To help us estimate the square root of a non-perfect root square, I've drawn us a number line with the integers across the bottom and the square root or the radical that they correspond to above. So for instance, the square root of 1 is 1, the square root of 4 is 2, the square root of 9 is 3, and so on and so forth as you look down the number line. So what we want to do is place the number under the radical on the number line somewhere between these two numbers. Okay, so let's take a look at the first example. So they're asking us for the two consecutive integers in which each square root lies between. So let's look at the square root of 10 to start with. Okay, so I notice that 10 lies between 9 and 16. So the square root of 10 would have to be between the two integers 3 and 4. Okay, all right. The square root of 115, well, let's see, where does that fit on here? Okay, so that looks like that's somewhere between 100 and 121, somewhere right in here, we'll say. So the two integers that lies between is 10 and 11. Okay, so if we want to estimate that a little closer than just two integers, we would take a look at, okay, how close is 115 from 100? Well, that's 5 places. How close is it to 121? Well, we notice that that's 6 places. So if we were to estimate this even closer by a decimal, we would probably say that this is close to 10.5 because 115 lies almost halfway between 100 and 121. Okay? So let's look at the next one, the square root of 59. Well, where does 59 fit on this square root thing? Okay, so I see that it's somewhere between 49 and 64. So somewhere, let me grab a different color up here. How about let's go with green. Square root of 59 is somewhere in between 49 and 64. So we're going to say that that is between the two integers 7 and 8. Okay. All right, let's jump down here to the next one. So we've got the square root is 41, but we're looking for the negative root, so we just put that negative sign out front. The square root of 41, let's see, that's going to be not between 25 and 36, but 36 and 49. So we're going to say that that would be between, let's see, 36 and 49. That would be between negative 6 and negative 7. Okay? Because if you think about it, negative 6 squared would give us 36, and negative 7 squared would give us 49. So the negative square root of 41 would be between negative 6 and negative 7. Okay, so I would like for you guys to try the next two and then come back and see how you did. Okay, guys, so let's see how you did. So the negative square root of 3 would lie between 1 and 4, so that's going to be between negative 1 and negative 2. Okay. Oh, here's a tough one. Negative 206. Well, if we continued our number line out and put 15 on it, then that would be the square root. If I go ahead and do 15 times 15, that would be 225. So I see that it's between 14 and 15. And because we're looking for the negative root, we would simply put negative signs in front of it. Okay, so now we want to do the same thing down here for the square root of 84, except they're asking us to approximate it to the nearest tenth. Okay, so where does 84 fall on this number line? Okay, well, I see it's up here between 81 and 100, so it's going to be 9 point something. Now, how far is 84 from 81? Well, that's only 3 spaces away. And it's further away from 100. It's less than half. So I'm going to say this is about 9.2. And if we investigate that on the calculator, we could go ahead and put in 84, hit our square root button, and we would see that it's 9.16, 9.16, and then if we round that off to the tenth place, we would get 9.2. Okay, let's look at the negative square root of 27. First of all, we got to put that negative there because we're looking for a negative root. 27 is in between 5 and 6. It's less than halfway, so it's somewhere over here. So again, I'm going to say, let's see, it's 2 spaces away from 25. I'm going to say this one is more like 5.1. Let's investigate that on the calculator. So 27 square root is actually closer to 5.2. So 5.19, which actually rounds off, this means approximately, to negative 5.2. Okay, I'd like for you guys to try number 18, and then you can unpause the video and see how you did. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's see here. So we've got the square root of 145. That's a little bigger than 144, which square root is 12. So I'm going to say this one is probably 12.1. Let's investigate that on the calculator. 145 square root is 12.04, which actually rounds off to 12.0. So we're actually pretty close. If we'd been 12.05, we would have rounded off to 12.1. And I forgot to put my squiggle there to show that I'm actually estimating or giving an approximate answer. Okay, so let's move on down the page to cubes. The cube of an integer is called a perfect cube. Okay, so 1 cubed would be 1, because 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 2 cubed would be 2 times 2 times 2. Well, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 would give me 8. Okay, 3 cubed would be 3 times 3 times 3, and that gives us 27, because 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 3 is 27. And if we continue the pattern, 4 to the third power would be 4 times 4 times 4. That is 64. Okay. 5 to the third power would be 5 times 5 times 5. Let's see, that's the same thing as 25 times 5, or 125. Boy, these numbers are getting big fast, aren't they? 6 to the third power would be the same thing as 6 times 36, or 216. 7 to the third power, let's see, these are getting a little large. Let me try this here. Let's try 7 times 7 times 7, and that's going to give us 343. Okay. How about 8 to the third power? Boy, I don't know that one. 8 times 8 times 8, and that's going to give us 512. Okay. 9 to the third power. That's going to be 9 times 9 times 9, which is 729. All right, now this 10 power, this is really easy, because 10 to the third power is going to be 10 times 10 times 10, or a 1 with 3 zeros behind it. Okay, So 1,000. All right, let's move on down here to cube roots real quick. The opposite of cubing a number is finding the cube root. All integers have only one cube root. What numbers can you cube to get 8? 2. What numbers can you cube to get negative 8? Negative 2. Because negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 equals negative 8. And of course, this one up here would be 2 times 2 times 2. Okay? So when we're looking for cube roots, we're looking for the number when it's multiplied by itself 3 times gives us the number under the radical. Okay, so if I'm looking at 64, I know that 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. Therefore, the cubed root of 64 would be 4. Notice I've got a 3 right here in this index, and I've got 1, 2, 3 fours. Cube root of 64 is 4. Okay, you can see that above in our perfect cubes as well. Okay, so if we take a look at this one, the cube root of 343 is going to be 7 times 7 times 7. So the cube root of 343 is actually just 7. Here we go, the cube root of negative 27. Okay, the cube root of negative 27 is going to be negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Therefore, the cube root of negative 27 is just negative 3. Can you guess this one? The cube root of negative 1. Well, let's see here. There's only one number that multiplies to give us 1. It doesn't matter how many times you multiply it. That'd be negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1. And that's going to give us negative 1. Okay? I'd like for you guys to try the next two. Go ahead and pause the video and then restart it to see how you did. Okay, guys, let's see how you did. So the cube root of 2197 negative would be negative 13 times negative 13 times negative 13. So the cubed root of negative 2197 would actually be negative 13. Okay, we actually have this one above. If you look up here, we've got 512 is 8 to the third power. So the cubed root of 8 to the third power is actually 8. So guys, how'd you do? All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it. I'd like for you to write a summary on the video you just watched. And as always, if this video was helpful, click the subscribe button. Have a great night.